Hi, my name is Londe Yusuf.
And my name is Reggie Williams.
And we're the co-founders of Black Film Space. Black Film Space is a grassroots organization dedicated to enhancing the skill sets of Black filmmakers and building a community of creatives. We host events such as screenwriting workshops, panels, mixers, and other events that are designed to support Black content creators.
In the next episode of the Black Film Space podcast, we interview Frank Abney. Frank Abney is a Pixar animator who has brought to life animated favorites like Coco, The Incredibles 2, Frozen, Toy Story 4, and many more. We talk with Frank about the process of working on a big-budget animated film, the current state of Black animators, and his upcoming independent short animated project entitled Canvas. But before we start the interview, we have a few brief announcements. On Thursday, June 13th, we're hosting a screenwriting workshop from 7 to 10 p.m. in Manhattan. We workshop 2 screenplays, 15 pages or less, and offer constructive criticism. All experience levels are welcome, and admission is $6. On Saturday, June 8th, we're hosting a director's workshop with Stefan Bristol. Stefan is the writer and director of the new Netflix film, See You Yesterday. We are going to screen select scenes from his latest film and discuss his process of developing the short version into the feature film, followed by a Q&A. Admission is $10. On Sunday, July 21st, we're hosting our 4th annual Summer Mixer in Flatbush, Brooklyn. The Summer Mixer is our signature event where creatives like you get a chance to mix, mingle, drink, eat, and dance in the ultimate summertime setting. Early bird tickets go on sale May 31st and start at $15. Admission includes open bar, unlimited food, a live DJ, and raffle giveaways. For more info on all these events, go to blackfilmspace.com. And now, on to our interview.
Hi, Frank. Thank you for joining the Black Film Space podcast today. So my first question for you is about your time at the Art Institute of California and animation mentor, because you engaged in both the physical education experience and online. So what did your education afford you that you might have not gotten without these experiences?
So both Art Institute and Animation Mentor contributed in different ways to my career as an animator and filmmaker. I'd say Art Institute was more general. Although I wanted to be an animator, my time there, I got to get a taste of learning, about acting, learning about the foundations, as far as like life drawing and drawing and perspective, and learning about anatomy and color theory, like all the foundations to this medium. And once we got into the technical classes, I got to do more than just animating. I learned about 3D modeling and rigging and story, and all these different aspects that make up the just building projects in this medium, and which is good and could be bad in some instances where you just want to focus purely on one part. So it was up to us to hone in on what those specific areas were that we wanted to tackle. And so after I graduated, that's why I went to Animation Mentor right after, because with Animation Mentor, I got to focus purely on animation and nothing else. So when I graduated Art Institute, I was still able to get a job like while I was in school and after, but I was doing more of a generalist. I was more of a generalist, so I was doing a little bit of everything. And then once I got out of there, a few months later, I went to Animation Mentor, and I was focusing purely on learning how to animate performances and learning from industry professionals as well. And so I think there's a lot gained from both experiences, even though I'm still paying both of those off.
You had mentioned that you studied some acting while you were at the Art Institute. Does that still inform your work now?
Oh yeah. I still take classes every now and then whenever if I have the time to dedicate to it. Just let's see, just I think it was last year I did this improv class, and yeah, they all it's all informative because as an animator, we're breathing life into these characters. We're the actors behind the characters. We have to know how to communicate effectively and dig into these different characters, because we don't know which character we may be animating on a given shot. So we have to quickly be able to dive into who that character is and how they would emote, how they would move, how they would just different layers to the performance. And so so that the acting class I had, we're learning about we were learning about live act, how they would approach live action, like shot, what's the word? I guess setting up shots, and how the actors would perform to the camera, and we took part in that as well, like picking scenes from movies. We try to pick stuff that we're not familiar with, and kind of navigate with the instructor, how we would film that and act it out in front of the class. And our final, I remember I was just talking about this, we had to memorize a 1 minute long monologue, perform that in front of the class, and it was great. It was great, being able to, well, first of all, be vulnerable in front of the class to do that, and to use that chunk of time to dive into a character and see what we can do with it. Okay. And all that's informative to animation, because we get the lines of dialogue, and we can look at the storyboards for the scenes, but usually it's we hear the dialogue from the actors, and then we take that and have to reinterpret that, because the context may change, or there may be certain acting beats that the director wants in the scenes, and so a lot of us, we act out our scenes to that dialogue as well.
Do you work on the same character per project so that like the acting and the animation and everything is consistent? How's the work distributed?
That's how a lot of the work was done, in early on in animated film production. That's you would have character teams. So people would be, let's say it's Lion King, there'd be a team of animators on Star, a team of animators on Mufasa, and you'd still get a little bit of each character, but they had very split up roles, for the different characters, and I think there's a benefit to that, but I think nowadays it's more you get a mix of everything. So whoever's in your shot, there's some movies where I've primarily worked with a certain character, or at least I worked with that character more than the others. There's some where I've kind of touched everybody. Yeah, I kind of prefer that, just because it gives you a chance to have different experiences and explore, the different personalities, and just bring a more unique perspective to a certain character, and it's also that extra amount of challenge to make it all feel like it came from one animator.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a lot. That's really tedious. You probably have to go back and forth with notes from the director and the producers. Yeah.
Can you paint the picture for us about the process of animating a film, and between all the positions and how it's directed and all that?
Yeah, no problem. So I'd say the bulk of the time is spent figuring out the story. We want to make sure that we're telling a story that's worth telling, and people can take something from it, and we're just building something unique and grounded, and something that's built in some kind of truth, and so with that, you're hammering on getting this story feeling as perfect as it can be, in the time that you have. And so, from there you may jump into designing the environments, designing characters. You still may not have an idea of voice actors yet. Some people already have actors in mind that early, but yeah. So designing your world and designing the characters, and then you may, depending on if you're doing it in 3D, you may start to bring those things into the 3D world and discovering the look. By then you'll have your concept artist and your art director, like everyone kind of designing that world and seeing how that would look. You may even have animators that early, if you have characters built to just to kind of test them out, seeing how they would move, what their range of motion would be if you have a unique style of character. And you're gonna have your story artist, once your script is done, to basically translate that script to screen, and seeing how those shots would be composed, and getting the visual storytelling in there. And from there, I'd say, once the story is pretty locked, and you have your storyboard and the reels are working well, you'd bring that into, you'd have a layout department if you're working in 3D. Layout department is basically they're in charge of composing the shots in 3D. So you have your 3D sets that are built from the designs, and you have your characters that are built, from the character designs. And the characters go through another process of, after they're modeled, they have shading or texturing, basically determining the surface detail, the skin texture, all that kind of stuff. And you have the groom department, which does the hair, and you have the cloth department, or different studios may call them different. You may have they may be called the tailor department or cloth simulation. They're in charge of the clothing. So, you're gonna first you'll have the model of the clothing, and then you have you have a whole team of people that are figuring out the technical settings for that clothing. How they would move, how they drape, what the weight of the clothing is, how they'll wrinkle, and all that kind of stuff. But that can happen along the way as you're in production. But you want to get in that stuff as early as possible. So back to the layout, like once you have the characters and the environments and stuff, the layout department, they set up the shots. So what environment the characters are going to be in, making sure that the characters are where they need to be in relation to the camera, and just composing the shots based on what's been set up in the storyboards. And they'll do kind of a just rough placement of what's supposed to happen throughout the shots. And then from layout, we go to animation. So when we get involved, we'll have the layout. We can also refer to the storyboard, and we'll meet with the director. They'll kind of tell us what the plan is for the shots, what they want out of the shot. Basically like how a director would talk to an actor. And so, we would take that, and we, there's multiple iterations and meetings with the director and your leads to make sure that you're hitting those performances and bringing whatever's needed out of the shots to them. And then from there you may have lighting working simultaneously while shots are being animated as well. So the lighting department, they're setting up the look of the shots, and they're going to be getting their information from the concept art or the color script, and they're bringing the lights to the scene to define the look. And there's a pretty some studios have a pretty large lighting team, some have a pretty small lighting team, and I'm not sure how they operate as far as like how they share shots, or but I'm always fascinated when my shots go through lighting, and just seeing what they do to just make it look beautiful, basically.
I'm sorry. What do you mean by the lighting department in regards to animation?
So similar to live action, where but digitally. So they would take, say, a shot that I just animated, or they're working on the whole sequence, and they put the lights in the scene. So you're same way you would light a character on a set. They have the key lights, bounce lights, fill lights, everything that's to define the look of what's been established in the concept art.
Wow.
So you got virtual lights where and they control the settings for how the surface reacts to that light. So you may have depending on how large a studio, that could be split up into two different departments, or it could be the lighter themselves doing that stuff. But how reflective a surface is, how it reacts to the light, or a character, how their skin reacts to the light. So it could potentially be more than just lighting the scene itself, but yeah, it's everything is pretty much translated the same way that it would be in live action. So, but just in the virtual world.
So in the software that you all are using.
Right.
Okay. Wow.
And then from there we have a rendering department. So, after lighting and after we have the effects and the hair and cloth, and the scene is lit, and then it has to be rendered, so you get that final look that you see on screen, because the computer has to compute all that stuff, like how the light it would compute those the number of bounces of that the light would have in the scene, kind of how in real world, if you have one light in a room, that light's going to bounce off of the walls and the floors, and depending on what surface it is, some surfaces absorb light, and just that's all the stuff that they have to learn, and bringing it to the animation world, so you get something that's not necessarily realistic, but something that's believable.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so we're that's why in college we have to learn a lot of that stuff, just from the animation side as well, like why we dig into anatomy and acting classes and life drawing, and all those foundations that make up that the final job that we're aiming for.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, after rendering, then sometimes they may score, do the music along the way. I know one of the last films I was on, scoring was happening as we were finishing the sequence, and sometimes the scoring happens at the very end, like once we're completely done with the movie, then the composer they'd score the film, and sometimes we can see a live feed of that, which is cool, seeing all the musicians play to the film playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's also the post-production stuff, like color correction and all that, making sure that it's all set up for theatrical release.
Yeah.
I think there's another department for DVD stuff as well. So,
mm-hmm.
And we have a marketing team. You may have that simultaneously going on. Filming your daily sessions or your meetings. To compile all that stuff for when DVD releases.
Mm-hmm.
So you have some special features going on in there.
Got it.
How long is this process?
I'd say it varies, but I think on average, I'll say maybe like 4 or 5 years from start to finish. And that some films have been much longer, and I know nowadays things are getting a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like eternity for live action films, because they shoot things so quickly. Do you feel like the industry puts pressure on animated films to turn around quicker now because budgets are smaller, timelines are shorter?
It's hard to say, because I'm not sure if that may come from that pressure, or studio pressure of wanting to put more product out to bring more funds in,
Yeah.
And that's always tricky. I mean, personally, I feel like you start getting into that territory, then you may start sacrificing quality. When you start chasing money, because then when you're chasing just the money, then you got to make sure everyone's happy, and then you start trying to make sure everyone's happy. Then you start watering down what you have to say.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
yeah, so that gets tricky, but yeah, it's hard to say where that comes from. I guess it depends on the studio. Because studios like Leica, that does a lot of, they primarily do stop motion stuff nowadays. Create what they would want to see, or whoever's in charge. But then you may have other studios that may their stories may be a little more general or simple, or it seems like it's more box office related. That's the easiest way I can put it.
Right.
Compared to like trying to put something unique and special out there.
How many Black animators are out doing what you're doing right now?
It's hard to say, because I mean, as far as my experiences go on film and who I know are working in just on the feature side, probably, I mean, definitely less than 10 that I know of. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'd say somewhere between like 5 to 10.
There's an uptick in television and live action films. Do you see efforts to bring more people of color, particularly Black creatives, in the animation space?
Oh, I would love to. That's because I feel like that we're always, I mean, at least for me, I always pulling from live action. Like I watch more live action stuff than animated stuff, and I feel like no matter what, it's all just a medium to tell a story. So I feel like people could come from anywhere, on the filmmaking side, because it's just how you get that information on the screen. All the principles are still there. All the principles are still the same. So I mean, if it was me personally, I would. And I know we've had consultants with filmmakers, with live action filmmakers, and not just people of color, but just people in general as well. Because it's all informing. So, but yeah, I hope we can get more of that. I'd love to to have an animated film going on where we're consulting or having someone like Ava or Ryan Coogler or Barry Jenkins, or just people coming in and contributing to that, because I feel like with animated films there's still this stigma of it being for kids, and I feel like we can bring so much more depth to the animated films, and I think it's up to people and studios to make that leap, to take that risk, and
yeah, totally.
I mean, I'm up for it. I don't know. I know others would be. Some studios may not want to take that risk because they've already built they already have an audience that they try to stick with. But yeah, I think it just takes people creating for themselves.
But is there?
I mean, look at Family Guy and all those other animated shows that are definitely for adults. You could watch movies with the same type of tone.
Yeah. So are there when in regards to live action, there are these programs for diversity. There are these strong pushes, like Netflix has, what is it, Black Lead or something like that? Strong Black Lead. Is there anything happening in regards to like animators, not necessarily like producers and directors like the Ryan Cooglers and Ava DuVernays, but like, is there a push for animators to get more work in the feature level or in the studio television department?
Well, I know different studios may have their own programs going on. I know for me currently, like we've been sent to different schools or like I participated with Disney and Pixar at the Black College Expo. Just talking to students and parents and stuff, and I've done talks at the Walt Disney Family Museum. Just kind of whether I'm helping with like they have a summer program where kids are learning about creating stories or designing characters or their worlds or things like that. And I also travel to different colleges whenever the opportunity comes up to talk about what I do and also help try to provide resources. And I teach online as well, so which is I teach in person at a place called Animation Collaborative, and also teach online a place called Anim Squad, which has been nice because that's it gives everyone an opportunity no matter where they're located. But I feel like there still needs to be there's still more to do because this field can be pretty expensive, and not everyone has the means to go after it. So that's another that leads to other stuff I may do. Like the talks at the schools, I think that's helpful, and also just trying to make myself more just accessible online, and try to be active on social media and stuff for people that may have questions. I have my email open. People, they have questions. I get a fair amount of emails and questions about getting into animation and what they need to do, and just how to go about it and all that kind of stuff. So I try to help where I can and give resources that don't break the wallet, basically.
Yeah.
Stuff that would be easily accessible and things that people can do on their own. Because like after a lot of my learning, after college, I got what I needed as far as the core education, and but things weren't happening how I wanted them to just yet. And I think most of the learning was like taking that stuff and then building on it on my own afterwards. Just working at home, trying to just hammer on this craft and finding people online that can that would spend their time to give feedback or any of that stuff. So just kind of telling people what I did in those circumstances, because I know after college I'm like, I can't pay for anything else.
So
try to make it work some other way.
Yeah. What was the name of the place that you teach at?
I teach at the Animation Collaborative, which is in person. It's actually across the street from Pixar. And then I teach online at Anim Squad, ANIMSQUAD.
Okay. And why is it so expensive to learn how to animate?
I think some of it could be, partially where the places I teach, it's all currently working professional animators. So taking that time, and also like characters. A lot of times we provide characters for students to animate with, because there's some free characters out there that are good, and then there's some that you may not have the range of emotion and motion that you can get out of the characters, and you may not have as much diversity for the type of shots that you want to animate. And so getting those characters made can cost thousands of dollars, because you're paying a modeler, you're paying a rigger, you're paying a designer. So there's all these things that go into creating the right environment for people to thrive in when pursuing animation. But the online, like the more workshop type classes, those are more on the cheaper end, actually. Like I did a talk, I did a recent talk at Walt Disney Family Museum, and kind of going into colleges and what parents can expect, and one of the other speakers brought up costs of colleges nowadays, and I'm like, man, like it's nearly, if not double, than when I went to school. I'm like, oh my god,
yeah, it's the biggest form of debt in this country.
Yeah, like my especially like after working in the industry for like the last 12 or so years, like, I'm still paying off student debt, and like, man,
yeah, it's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, what is the most difficult, challenging thing to learn in animation, and what would you strongly suggest people master, so they can enter the industry and be competent?
Yeah, I'd say for an animator, that would be performance. Learning about how to bring your experiences to a performance. You can dive into the technical stuff and learning how to polish and make everything look pretty on screen, but the heart of it is coming from the acting, and the spending a lot of time at the computer. Like, you can do all the studying and all that stuff that you want, but you got to live your life also. You gotta go out, you gotta experience, you gotta there's some self-discovery in that as well, because you know what you like, and you may see performances or movies that you like, you may not know why, but just kind of learning about yourself and the craft. They go hand in hand, and I think that's probably the most important thing for me. Bring to this field, to this craft, because I think ultimately we want to connect with people. So seeing how you can dig into your own history, whether it's yourself or people or just those experiences, and being able to communicate that in the simplest way on screen. I think that's the one of the key things, if not the key thing, in my opinion, for being an animator.
Can you talk about your short film and the concept? How did you come up with it? Where it's at right now?
Yeah, so Canvas, it's about a grandfather who's he goes through a loss, and it in that loss he loses inspiration to create, because he was a painter. So it kind of came from a little bit from myself, a little from my mom, a little from my grandfather. Just as an artist, and people in general, loss can affect us in different ways, but especially on the when you have a passion or something that you put a lot of yourself into, that can really do some damage on your creative side. But so I wanted to tackle that in a story. I think it would be relatable for all people, and also just something a little more grounded. I could easily pull from funny stuff or things that have happened in my life, but I wanted to put something out there, to bring some heart, bring something real out there. And I had the idea a few years ago. The story at its core, it was the same, but it was it was slightly different. So it's been going on for about, let's say, probably about 4 years. There's a period where I was pitching it in the beginning, but I had to get the rights back, so that was kind of a year lost of just not working on it during that time when I was trying to get the rights back. And then once I got it back, I started assembling my team, getting my designers and story artists and, you know, all that stuff just to start making this thing. And then got to the point where we needed funding. So, you know, earlier this year, we did the Kickstarter campaign, which was, you know, ended up being successful. And yeah, I'm still kind of in shock by just the response to the short and the teaser. And yeah, it's great when you know, you feel something about, you know, whatever you're making or whatever you're doing or whatever it may be, and you know, you put it out there and people can feel that. You know, it's I can't even describe the feeling, but I'm so grateful, you know, that people responded to it, and so we're trying to finish it by, you know, in September, so we can hit the festival circuit next year. So right now it's about 7 minutes long, probably about a minute and a half animated. So we're moving. It's going to take, you know, it's a long process, and you know, it's going to take some large hours put in, just because everyone working on it is either working full time or, you know, has something going on.
Yeah.
So it would be nice, you know, if I could, you know, have a project where I can dedicate, you know, full time to it, but you know, you gotta make it work.
Yeah. So
whatever we have. So
I noticed the budget for the film is $60,000 or $40,000, but you end up raising $60,000, which seems incredibly low for an animated film relative to the studio. The studio budgets, which are like what, hundreds of millions of dollars. So I mean, typically independent. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, just like for a short film at a studio, yeah, it could still be around $1 million just for like 5 minutes. So.
Yeah. So I'm curious to know like how you make this work, and then also looking at your production costs. Most of it's going towards rendering, which is, I find to be amazing. So can you just elaborate more on how you're going to make this project come to life?
Well, a lot of it is, you know, leaning on friends and just people that want to be part of the project that have, you know, there's some that's volunteered their time, and there's some people that, you know, they're doing work at a huge discounted rate. And then there's also, you know, finding cheaper ways of doing things that can still bring quality. Like, for instance, let's say if there's something that I can do that, you know, I may not necessarily want to do it, but, you know, I have the skill to do it. You know, I may just take that task on and do it, you know, for free, compared to like finding someone to hire to do it, and, you know, having the pull from the budget. So like, you know, there's some, even though I had story artists on the short, you know, there's some storyboards that I just did myself. So, you know, for the time that we needed them, and, you know, not wanting to have to pay someone to do it, you know, or there's some 3D modeling that I would pitch in on, you know, for little things that we needed. And then there's some things that I tried to do, and then it's just like, okay, I need to get someone like the hair, you know, that was something that I done hair a long time ago, and there's a different way of doing it that provides, you know, really nice results just with the tool what the tool is capable of. Yeah, I tried to take that on, but I was hitting a wall, and I was like, okay, I need to get someone who, you know, does this for a living, you know, does this for what animation is for me. I want this, you know, this needs to be their thing. So, yeah. So I got, you know, I found an artist that was really good with that stuff, and yeah, just leveraging whatever I can to bring quality, but also, you know, get it done and be efficient about it.
Yeah. How many animators are going to be working on this?
I'm not sure yet. The teaser, I just animated that myself, and then
looks amazing.
Oh, thank you. I've had for the actual short so far, I've had maybe 6 or 7 so far, and then I anticipate getting more. So yeah, I'm not sure where it'll end, but I'm jumping in there as well, animating some stuff, and yeah, whatever we can to get it done. But I do want to. I don't want it to be too many people, just because for one, that could be a lot to manage, and two, I want everything to feel consistent. So it could still be done with a lot of people and have it feel consistent, but that also takes a lot of managing, and also wanting I wouldn't want people to just have like one shot to animate, because that you as an animator, you want some kind of ownership over maybe a moment, or a few shots that are connected with each other, have some kind of context, so you're not just animating a one-off shot of,
yeah,
something that's not connected. Yeah, so keeping that in mind as well, because I know how that is on the feature side.
It's like that sometimes. We just have to animate one shot without context.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
I think for the studios I've been at, that's more so come up at the end, because it's like whatever's left, you just got to get it done. But generally, we usually get cast a few shots at once, so we'll animate a section of things. So we have some kind of ownership on that. That particular chunk.
Can you also talk about your life and how you got to this point? I mean, I know we talked about you going to those institutions and schools, but how did you develop an interest in animation in general?
Oh, yeah. I'd say it started from drawing, just, watching cartoons and movies as a kid, and just, I don't know what sparked wanting to draw, but like I was fascinated by characters, and just trying to replicate that, trying to do what I saw. And then also growing up, I was fascinated by motion, just like seeing how things operate, how people move, and the differences that you see in people and how they do the same thing. Different people approach the same thing differently. I just been fascinated with that. And then, and I think what kind of lit the fire as far as wanting to pursue being in this business, I'd say is definitely the movies, like the storytelling aspect of animation, and specifically, I think Lion King was a big one.
I love that movie, so I get it.
Yeah, I think that was the one, just my connection with it, after my dad passed when I was 5, and then I saw that when I was probably like 8 or something, or 7 or somewhere around there. And just that feeling, seeing Simba losing his dad, and like just that fear of the unknown growing up, and responsibility as an adult, and like just all the stuff that was kind of fallen on me after my dad passed. I'm the new man of the house now, and I'm like it's a lot of it was a lot of pressure of not knowing and what that's going to mean moving forward, and just a little bit of having to grow up fast. And so seeing Lion King, I was that was the first time I connected with a film on that level, and I was like, man, I want to do that. I didn't know I wanted to be an animator per se, but I wanted to be a part of that in particular, like making films, like doing that, and just as a kid, I wanted to be an actor. I would always try to imitate people as well, and then stuff from movies, like the scenes in movies, or just people in general. And so I think all those things combined kind of make up, the parts of an animator. You got the drawing and art design side, and then you got the performance and the theatrical side, and basically an animator. So that just that was a natural progression.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, Frank, for joining us on the Black Film Space podcast. Appreciate your time and insight.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Where can people find you on the internet, and where can they learn more about your short film Canvas?
Oh, yeah. So I'm on Twitter and Instagram. My Twitter is at Frank Abney, the letter I. And then on Instagram, it's just at Frank Abney. My website, frankabney.com. I have my contact info on there. The website has my email and also the social media stuff as well on there. And then I should have a link to Canvas Film in the short film section, but also, if you just wanted to go to the Canvas website, it's thecanvasfilm.com, where you can see the teaser, and I'll be updating that as we continue, especially when we get into festivals, so people know where they can see it and all that stuff.
All right. Thank you, Frank. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening to the Black Film Space podcast. If you're interested in being part of our community and attending events, please visit us at blackfilmspace.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Black Film Space. Subscribe to our email list and podcast. Thank you. See you soon.